Okay, for a quick video, listen to some well-known figures in church history who fall on the Arminian side and then the Calvinist side. The Arminian side, probably the vast majority of people modern day would definitely probably fall more towards the Arminian side than they would the Calvinist side. But just some historical figures of note: Pelagius, which he actually went further than Arminianism to the point where he was labeled officially a heretic. But there was some compromised positions that came out from his teachings that were known as semi-Pelagian, and in essence Arminianism and those that are not Calvinists tend to fall in that semi-Pelagian camp. So you had Pelagius, of course Arminius himself, Philip Melanchthon, John Wesley, Charles Finney. Modern day would be like Billy Graham, let's see, C.S. Lewis, Norman Geisler, Clark Pinnock, John Wart Montgomery, Jimmy Swaggart. He made it clear that he considers the Reformed view a demonic heresy. And of course there's others. Like I said, if you do a YouTube search on Calvinism, you'll get to see a lot of people that support that. But on the Calvinist side of things, it might be kind of interesting to point out that St. Augustine, or Augustine, however you want to pronounce his name, some of his earlier writings didn't show as much Calvinistic leanings. Now you understand, I'm using the label Calvinistic, which didn't come out until after Calvin, but yet I'm having to apply that just so that you understand what I'm saying, all the way back to Augustine, who predates Calvin. But anyway, Saint Augustine, he his later writings towards the end of his life demonstrated a Calvinist view. R.C. Sproul seems to think that St. Thomas Aquinas in the Catholic Church was Calvinistic. Martin Luther, John Calvin, Oliver Cromwell, Jonathan Edwards, Abraham Kuyper, John Knox, Zwingli, a lot strongly lean that way. Now he was a little different in some other areas, but pretty much he probably would fell in that category. Let's see, George Whitefield, Charles Spurgeon, the whole modern missionary movement, which, William Carey, David Livingstone, I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that were in the missionary movement at around that same time. All those guys adhered to the Calvinistic system. All our Ivy League schools prior to 1800 would have been Calvinistic schools. It was around 1800 or so when they started changing, Yale, and started changing and all. See, modern missionary movement. Moving on up closer, and then let's see. Of course, the Puritans. They would have, which is a lot of names in the Puritans. But getting closer to modern times, Martin Lloyd-Jones. I think I already mentioned Charles Spurgeon. If I didn't, I'm mentioning him now. Charles Spurgeon, Martin Lloyd-Jones. I know I probably should have had a list, right? But it wouldn't be as, I want to try to have this as if we're sitting at the same table here talking. all the Princetonians like B.B. Warfield, J. Gresham Machen, Charles Hodge, and then of course since then, modern day, you got Michael Horton, R.C. Sproul, John MacArthur, J.I. Packer, John Piper, Ian Murray. He's not really, he's not a pastor now. He's more of a historian, but you can get a lot of his books. I guess those would kind of be the titans that you see today. You might see some stuff written by Sinclair Ferguson, Mark Dever, Ligon Duncan. Anyway, so you can kind of see, that there's a broad many of people, throughout throughout church history, that believed that the doctrines now known as Calvinism, best align with Scripture, so they would adhere to it and say that that's what Scripture taught. So I thought you'd be surprised, because I know that there's a lot of criticism saying that Calvinists do not believe in evangelism, but yet it's kind of ironic that the modern missionary movement was started by Calvinists. William Carey, David Livingstone, George Whitefield, Charles Spurgeon. Nobody could deny that these guys, were evangelists, and yet they were Calvinists. So, it gives you something to look at and to consider, that maybe there's a misrepresentation, or at least a misunderstanding of Calvinism. So, alright, so that'll do it for this video. The next we'll have to start getting into more detail and looking at the Scripture and so forth. So, hang out with me there, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of things. Alright, take care. God bless.